Okay, today we're going to be discussing modifying the UI. So we did install it and we ran a quick compilation. We ran a quick compiled program from source just as a sample, but now we're going to optimize it by modifying the UI, and we're going to add Ghidra as our decompiler, which we can also do from source code. So we're going to create another fake piece of malware. As you can see, we're going to create a directory called fake malware. We changed directory into fake malware, and then we're going to create a fake.c program using Vim, as you can see. So I just simply said int main, hello, I am Mr. Fake, it written in C, and then we actually saved it. We're gonna save it, and we're gonna compile it, GCC space, and then the name of the file we're going to compile right here, and then we're going to influence what it's going to be called as after we compile it, and I want to just call it faker. That dash O is just represents D for out, O for out. What will it look like? What will the outgoing file look like? And we'll just call it faker. If you don't put anything, just so you know, if you just literally just said GCC space fake dot C, all it would do is create a automatic program a dot out, or you can use the dash O per I want to say a parameter or flag, and you can actually create the outgoing file yourself. And one way that a lot of people do it is they'll say, okay, if this is called fake, we'll call the outgoing file faker or just fake as well. Once we do that, we can actually execute the faker program, and then all it does is say, hello, I am Mr. Fake. And we just want to go ahead and test that. Now, another way we can actually, I'm going to say, call the cutter program is if we just say, usually we'll just say cutter, but you can also you can also call cutter, and then you can have options of any application that you want to run. In this case, you're calling cutter, but then you're specifying the file that it wants to open, okay? And then you're specifying the ampersand. Now, as the PowerPoint says, the ampersand allows us to run the app separate from the terminal. So, in other words, have you ever noticed that when you run an app from terminal, it basically takes up the entire space of the terminal? Well, if you run anything and just say ampersand, it runs on top of the terminal, so there is some separation, so you can still use the same terminal. Okay, so if I just did this, let me join here, and let me go ahead and well, let's not. Let's say, as you can see, I never did this. If we wanted to see this, the original, I just ran cutter and it runs it on top of this. See, we can't do anything more with this. So what we can do session, do a new tab, and now you can do things like ls, and then you can run, and then you have double tabs. But if there was no ability to tab, you pretty much be dead in the water in terms of using this terminal again, because when you just call it with the excuse me, when you just call the program, it'll integrate itself in the terminal, as you can see here. But as a PowerPoint shows, if you run the ampersand, you run it on top of the terminal, if you will, or separate from the terminal, and then you can still use that same terminal. All right. Now, with approve and open, we can actually just open it. Now, here, I did try to utilize the cutter fake, and it didn't work out for me. So you can just go ahead and just type in cutter and then find the file. Okay, now this should look very familiar to everyone. This is the let me let me just bring this up a little bit. This is the default user interface. So this should look very familiar with everyone, and it was very functional. We were able to locate our strings and answer all the questions. But there might be like a push, if you will, toward optimizing this UI as opposed to just using the default. Now, it comes kind of optimized already because Kali is, by default a darker OS. So it comes with that dark style because, for example, at least color wise, if we go back to here, go back to our cutter, if we go back to, for example, preferences, and you know what, I want to shrink this. Go back to preferences and appearance. Okay, we have interface theme. Now, usually interface theme will be native. That's how all interfaces come generally are native. And thankfully, even the native colors of this Kali installation are black and blue and dark blue and all that. So that is actually okay. But anyways, we want to we want to optimize our UI. So first thing is that we want our tabs. We want to show our tabs at the top. Okay, so one thing we could do is go to View, as you can see, and then we have this show tabs at the top. Looking at our Kali, we go View, okay, and let's see, we go View and then show tabs at the top. So let's see, View, okay, and layouts. Oh, show tabs at the top right here. Sorry about this. Show tabs at the top. Okay, so we're able to then recall that before they were down here. Now, as you can see in the next, the tabs are up here. Okay, tabs are up there. Now, there is one aspect of this that's bad. Decompiler is empty, so this is the traditional default look. Decompiler is empty, so we can change that. So to do that, we just do sudo apt install -yrz -ghidra, the all-powerful Ghidra, brought to us by our own NSA. Okay, so we do that, and now we want to look, and let me go back to my Kali. We can even take a look at this, and we can see decompiler right here. Okay, and decompiler is in fact Ghidra down here, as you can see. Okay, and it's the reason why it says empty, or it might say main right there. If the it would say main, hopefully, if the it does it right there. If the tabs weren't so constrained, but it does say main. So that actually installs Ghidra. Now, when we want to adjust the UI user interface, go to the Windows tab and select the following: Graph Overview, Console, and Comments. So as you can see here, Graph Overview has already been selected. Then now select Console and Comments. Now what your new interface will look like is this. Comments are down here, and sections also will be here. Console is here. So we have console and comments are here. All right. Now, in the new UI, we have console and comments here. And then we want to enable sections too. So to do that, we can go to Windows, Info, Sections, okay? And sections winds up down here. So what we then do is take our cursor on sections here, drag it up, and sections will wind up hopefully being on the right side in a separate section. Now, the UI wants to link these sections to these tabs here. So if it does it, it's kind of hard to undo it. So what you can do is if you mess up, go to view, then reset to default value. So that might be your best friend here. So we go to view and then reset to default value. Okay? And then you can start over again. Now here's the updated UI, and now we have the sections here and all of our tabs here and the functions here. The one thing about the sections is that what's cool is that the permissions now is visible, and it's very important that we see what permissions are basically enabled by this fake piece of malware. Okay, and then visually, we can take a look. We can look at this little arrow right here, and it will bring up all of the virtual layering of the different requests here and the different functions. Okay. And then we can also do the segments window. Okay. So again, you go to view. Yeah, let me do it for you on here. So you go to view and no, I'm sorry, you go to Windows. All right. And then you go to info. And then you can then click on segments. And ultimately, you can do the same thing. You have your segments here. Now we can adjust the colors as we need. So in order to do that, we go to edit and then preferences. Okay. And the preferences, from preferences, we go to appearance. And then it's native by default, which is really good for Kali. Now, if we were on a lighter type OS like Debian or something like that, that might be different. But I like Midnight, and we want to make sure in terms of the disassembly side panel, we want to make sure we're on Intel, not AT&T. And then finally, more changes. We want to show offsets, display flags as real name, show empty line after every basic block. So if we take a look at the various things that we can do, we can go to, go to graph mode, and then go to Windows, and we could go to info. Okay, and let's see. My apologies. We could go to edit. And then preferences. Okay, my apologies. This is where we needed to go. Preferences. And we can go to, show empty space after every basic block. So if we unclick it, we can see that there will be less empty spaces. If we go to the disassembler, okay, and then show empty spaces again. See how that changed? The show empty line after every basic block. So if we uncheck it, we can see the effect. And then if we check it, look at that. We have the empty space, and I think the more empty spaces that you have, the better, I guess, it is to understand and digest what is going on. Okay, let's do show opcode description right here. Hopefully everyone is seeing that. Show opcode description. So that shows you the comments. So if we go to graph right here, okay, we can see all the comments here. Now if we uncheck show opcode description, we see the comments disappear. So we're going to check it again, and we see that we have comments right there. All right. Okay, so Every red line you see, make sure that is selected. All right. And as I said before, opcode was checked, and then after it's going to look at something else. Okay. One more thing. We have the row offset. We have deselect show offset for first instruction under graph. So, preferences, and then graph, make sure that is unchecked. Okay. And right click on functions and select horizontal, not vertical. So we can go back. And I need to move this over. I don't know what is going on. Okay. Let's. And we are going to right click, and then we can see that it was on vertical. Now, as you can see, I changed it to horizontal. Okay, and we can, if we double click on here, we can really see everything that we need to here. So under main, we can just roll it this way, and we can see all of our horizontal rows. Okay. All right, that is about it. Thank you very much. Once you get your cutter looking like this, then it looks like you have optimized the user interface for the maximum understanding.